Elizabeth Peterson.
Top Bouquet.
Day number 2.
Yeah.
And already you're behind the microphone.
Feels right.
Doing what comes natural.
That's right.
So this is an opportunity this morning for you to get introduced to the 906 Adventure Team community. Tell the story a little bit, how you ended up here. I'm going to let you run with it. I might ask some questions as we go through this, but I want to start it. I want to set the start point for everybody. And I think a lot of people might be surprised to learn that this story starts in 2021.
Yeah.
From my perspective. Now, I think for you, it may be a different start point because your son came through the program, which you'll get into. But you interviewed with us in 2021. Mm-hmm. And it was, at that time, right person, wrong position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we continued down the paths we were on, and then those paths crossed again. We talked the last 6 months before you ended up here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I talked enough. Why don't you bring us through it? What put you in that chair today?
Well, a whole series of things, right? And you're right. It did start for me before that interview in 2021 because it started for me when I met you. And I met you. It took me a while to remember. But when I went back, it was when I worked at WNMU and you came in for a media meet to talk about 906 Adventure Team.
That's right.
Yes. And it was the first time I met you. And I remember seeing what you were doing on Facebook and wanting to share it with our audience. And I remember you leaving and going, oh, I got to work with that guy. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid real hard. It just spoke to everything I felt like I was at my core.
Yeah.
And so I continued to follow you, continued to get to know you. And then that job popped up and I wasn't qualified for that, but it was an opportunity to possibly work for this organization and I could learn the skills. That's what I felt like at the time.
Right.
So didn't work out. Totally fine. We continued to work together. I continued to work at TV6 and use that platform to help spread the mission of what you were doing here.
Yep.
And in that same length of time, I had a son who was in middle school, who was struggling. And I kind of, as a mother, I just didn't know what to do. I felt like I had done everything I could for him, but I was at the point where every night I was worrying about him. He just felt so low about who he was. And it didn't matter what I said or what I did. I couldn't get him to see what I saw, right? That he was brave and strong and intelligent and he could do these hard things. And so I turned to you and turned to the 906 Adventure Team program.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Were you nervous at first to put him in? Did you have doubts?
Absolutely.
What were they?
Well, he wasn't a big biker, right? This was, sure, we rode bikes that zip down the bike path or whatnot. And when he was little on bikes, but
not on trail,
not in this way. I would say this was probably the first thing that he'd ever done really on his own. He was never really into organized sports.
Did he try organized sports?
We tried a couple things. I think he played baseball. That was not good. I might have had a little stint in soccer. None of it really worked. Also, I tried to get him out in the woods with just the family, hiking, backpacking, canoeing. All of it he liked when he was little, but then there became a point where he just wasn't interested, Can
I ask a question?
Yeah.
So he liked it when he was little. He reaches a point where now it's like, maybe I'm not down with this. I'm not jiving with this right now. Not feeling it. How old was he?
He middle school.
Okay, so like 6th grade?
Yeah. What is that? 10, 11-ish?
Yeah, 10, 11.
Yeah.
In that area. I want to step back I want to get the sequence timeline here correct. Media meet when we met. Do you remember roughly where he was? He must have still been in elementary?
Yeah, I feel like I was just starting to kind of worry about him.
Okay.
Because it really called to me.
Yeah. So pre-middle school.
Yes.
Okay. Were you afraid? Did you have fears of putting him into this? And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
But, did you have concerns about him failing at it, not doing well, not having a good experience.
Sure. Because I didn't know how much more he could take, right?
Okay,
He was
fair.
sad. He was down. I mean, we talk about it now, and he talks about it as being some of the hardest, like his hardest stretch of his childhood.
Okay.
I could see it. I could feel it.
Yep.
And if he failed, what would that do to where he was already at?
Sure.
But I also knew, he's my second child. So my daughter and my son are 8 years apart. So raising her was very different. She took to hiking and backpacking, and I watched her do really hard things and what it did for her. We took a trip to Isle Royale when she was just little. I mean, she was just little. She was like 15, 14, but just a tiny, tiny human. And, man, she didn't think she'd make it through that.
Yeah.
But I watched her that whole trip through Isle Royale, like find that strength and be at the bottom and go, I can't, what am I going to do? Right? You're out on Isle Royale. You have to keep going. Never complained. Because that was like a prerequisite to going on the trip.
Sure.
You come, there's no complaining. We just do it. And it's hard. It's hard out there.
Well, that almost sounds like a rite of passage,
Yeah.
which a lot of kids are lacking
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
How did you get past the apprehension and the fear and decide he's going in? We're going to see what happens. How'd you get past it?
Well, honestly, I talked to him. I needed him to commit just the same way that I was going to commit, right? And so we had conversations. I told him, I said, I don't know if this is going to be the right fit for you, but if you commit, you commit. You're all in. And
All in or all out?
All in or all out. And I let him know, I can't force you into this. I don't feel like I could ever do that to my kids. So I need you to be a willing participant and be as upfront on the same page as me going in. And so he's like, yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll try it. I don't think I'm going to like it, but I'll try it.
I have to believe that willingness on your part to have that open conversation, transparent discussion, probably helped that. Because I feel like if you're having that, we've talked a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. I know Sawyer.
Yeah.
I've watched him grow up. I think that having that type of a relationship with your parent where you're almost talking to them as sort of on your level, like we need to discuss this and come to an agreement.
Yeah.
I think that's really important too. So
yeah.
Kudos to you for doing that. And it's probably also part of what, he feels like you trust him.
Yeah.
He trusts you. Let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Yep.
So his first year, how'd it go?
It didn't go well. It was,
the whole year?
No. Okay. There's a turning point.
Okay.
So, but pretty much the whole summer.
Was toward the end of the year.
Yes.
Is this the picture of him toward the end of Bike Club standing by the Kirby Hill sign?
Yeah.
I remember that picture.
Yeah. Big moment.
Yeah.
Big moment. So he did not like Bike Club at first. Tears on the way there for several weeks. And then it got to a point where he was in the back of the car crying, do not make me go. Do not make me go. And I had to kind of pull myself together, right? Because as a mom, I just want to take him home and wrap him up and keep him safe. So we had a conversation in the car. You committed to this. What does that mean? That means we see it through, whether it's hard, whether it's great, like you see it through to the end because you said, yes, we had that conversation, right? Like we signed up in the beginning together. So he was in.
You were already on the 906 path.
Yeah.
Because you were preaching to him, you're going to finish when you start.
Exactly. Yes. And so I said, do you feel unsafe? Because that's a different situation, right? If he's crying because he thinks his safety is in jeopardy, well, then as a mom, here comes Mama Bear going to find Todd,
You wouldn't be the first.
But he said, no, I feel safe. And I said, well, why don't you want to go? And he could not give me a reason. He's, I just don't know.
It's uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable.
That's why he didn't want to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I knew sitting there, it wasn't that he didn't want to go because of your program. It was because he didn't think he could do it, right? He just didn't like the way he was showing up. He wanted to be more than what he was showing up as.
Right.
But he didn't know how yet.
Well, he was becoming more.
He was learning. Yeah.
Right.
And
that process is tough.
It was really hard. And as a mom, it was really hard to allow him to go through it, to feel those uncomfortable moments.
It would have been easier to say, all right, let's pack it in.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Yeah. But it would have done him no good.
None.
So he went. And it was that night that he came back and he said, I see these kids get to the top of Kirby Hill. And I think I'm going to do that by the end of the summer. I'm like,
so he picked a goal.
He found a goal.
Yeah.
It was the first time that he came back from bike club with a goal, with some feeling of like motivation, inspiration, right? And so I was, yes, we've got a goal. Let's go. I'm all in for this. So he tried week after week after week. Nope, getting closer. I got a little closer. And suddenly he wasn't crying on the way there. He was like, I wonder if this is going to be the night. Yeah. This is going to be the week. Yeah. And he had created wonderful relationships with his leaders, the adults that led his group. Man, they hung out in the back with him and talked with him. And that also helped him, just having a place to share what he was going through and somebody just to listen and keep him going. It was really, really cool.
That's actually probably a good thing to point out, that one of the unique aspects of the Adventure Team program for youth is that if you show up, you're on the team, you have to ride.
Yeah.
Like, we're not cutting kids. They're put into groups that are not driven by skill and ability. So you end up with kids in the group that can do other things that kids on the back end can't. And they learn how to be a team that way.
Yeah.
And to support each other.
Yep.
So even though maybe he was lagging a little bit toward the back end, he was still part of that team.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was hard for him at first to get used to, because he was like, well, I'm not in the front. And I'd be like, who cares? That's not what this is about.
Nobody wants to feel like they're holding the group up.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 9 or 90.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that person, right?
Yeah.
Because we're programmed to not be that person.
Sure.
Because it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cable was actually in his group that first year. They rode together a lot.
Yeah, they were together.
And he was younger than him. He was, more used to being on the bike and being on trails. But man, he was so supportive, and he kept Sawyer going. He was another voice that Sawyer looks back on and is like, man, that kid, he helped me out. And it's pretty remarkable for somebody younger to kind of support somebody older in that way. I think that's something that's hard for kids.
Yeah.
Cable's special.
Yeah. I don't, regardless of age, whether you're older or younger and what that relationship is, you should always support one another.
Yeah.
And your support of each other should be the common bond that creates that cohesion and that synergy between people, which I also think is a hallmark of Adventure Team programming for kids.
Yep.
That they have a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than themselves, which is super important, more today than it's ever been, because a lot of kids are sitting in isolation.
Yeah.
I want to qualify something, because this is really important. So you going into bike club with Sawyer, as a parent, you want to find opportunities for them. You also want to protect them. Mm-hmm. You don't want to feel, or again, I might be putting words in your mouth, but we never want to feel like we're conditioned to not want to put our kids in a position to fail.
Sure.
And I can tell you from the survey last year that we did of parents, that mindset persists through many, many households, that they are they're gauging what they're going to put their kids into based on the likelihood they think the kid might have a bad experience. Mm-hmm. And if I were to say there's one thing that we all need to stop doing as parents, it's that.
Yeah.
Right? You should be looking at what's the foundation of the organization or team that we're thinking of aligning our children with. And when you look at 906 Adventure Team and the Adventure Team Youth Programming, even our adult events, the basis, the foundation is acceptance. I don't need to know anything about you except that you're a human.
Yeah.
And you deserve the opportunity to succeed and fail. And failure is part of our ingredient list for life success.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any parent that were to listen to this, to your story, they need to understand this is a natural wired emotion you have to protect your child. You putting them into your local adventure team is going to make this child stronger, but the road there might be a tough road.
Yeah.
Right? It might be bumpy.
Yeah.
So go to the day that he climbed Kirby.
Yes. So last night of the bike club of that first year, and he's getting out of the car and he's like, this is it. I either make it or I don't. And so we talked about making it, just doing it, no matter what, right? Like I told him, I said, your body or your mind is going to tell you to stop. It's just a natural, it's something that we do. It's like, I can't do it. My legs hurt. I'm tired. Your body will get you to the top if you fight that. If you fight that noise and just do it, no matter what, no matter how bad it hurts, just go. He's like, okay. So man, that whole time he was at the adventure team that night, I was so nervous. Is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? I want him to make it so bad. This has got to be it. This has got to be it. Because he had failed so many nights or weeks prior. And so he made it and he got the picture. Mm-hmm. And when
you sent it to me that night.
Yeah, it was, he came back just beaming. I mean, he was just so excited. And he said, I heard my voice told me to stop. And then I heard you tell me, don't, just go. Mm-hmm. So as a mom, I'm like, yes, okay, this is great. To me, that was just a successful summer. Like I watched him change, but I didn't know what he would do with that. I didn't know how that would translate into, growing. And, but that was it. That was the catalyst for some major change in his life. I think that was the moment where he realized he got to decide, right? Like who he was and how he represented himself. And he started eating healthy. He started working out. He started creating these healthy habits. And I actually brought him to a trainer because I was a little nervous he was overdoing it, right? He's still a growing boy. There's parameters that I want to make sure you're hitting because we can go the other way. We can go the super unhealthy route in this direction as well. So he got some really wonderful advice from Travis Alexander, who helped him learn the importance of fueling your body properly, especially as a young teenager. Mm-hmm. And he's continued on this path of taking care of himself, not being afraid of doing hard things. Kids these days are faced with so many things, and he has days where he is so down, or school's tough, relationships are tough, friendships are tough. And I have watched him pick himself back up, figure it out, fight through it, allow himself to have that hard stuff, and then find his route. How's he going to tackle it? What's he going to do with it?
Find a way through it.
Yeah. And it's been incredible to watch. I'm super grateful. He's still a part of the 906 adventure team. He now is an apprentice lead.
Yep.
And I asked him at the end, last year was the first year that he did that. I said, what do you think? Will you do that again? Yeah. I liked that. It's good.
Yeah. Cable did it last year. He was one of them. So there was him, Sawyer, a couple, Ella, Sam, and Emmeline. And that was really good. They did a great job. Cable really enjoyed it. He's looking forward to doing it again. I think it's a great opportunity for them to take what they've learned through their adventure team and their bike club experience and to share it with other kids.
Yep.
And those younger kids do look at them as leaders and mentors. How are we on time? 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Okay. So, well,
I just want to say this about his experience now. It also creates this incredible sense of community, that full circle, right? Like last year, Sawyer rode in the back with some of the slower kids that he used those same lessons that he learned from someone and gave them back. And to learn at such a young age, the value of giving back to your community, of sharing, of being a part of that bigger picture.
Yes.
I wish I would have done that when I was younger. It is so valuable. And now it's not as much about building his confidence as it is now propelling it forward to help the next generation and so forth. And seeing that cycle is really, really cool too.
Well, yeah, he's giving back, which is super important. You know, he had volunteers show up for him for years to give of themselves. And now he gets to a point that he can do the same for younger kids. And the secret a lot of times is we feel sometimes leadership is viewed as we're going to do it all. We're going to be off the front, leading the charge. And this is part of 906 leadership training. The idea of leading from behind. You don't need to do things for everybody as a leader. As a leader, you should be on the back end, there to support. Let them do it.
Yeah, give them the space.
Give them the space to do it. And if it goes well, be there to celebrate that effort. And if it doesn't go well, be there to support the next attempt.
Yeah.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
And we preach that over and over and over in training, because the long-term vision of a leader is always, it's this valiant, strong man or woman leading the charge. That's not the way it is with 906 Adventure Team.
Yeah.
You're on the back of the pack. You're keeping an eye on your team, and you're making sure you get everybody to the destination. Yeah. Always.
Yeah. Well, I tell this story so that people really understand why I'm so passionate about this organization. It's personal, and it's not personal, right? Like I want every child to go through what Sawyer went through and have that opportunity in their own way, and in every community. And so I'm so excited to be here, to be able to be a part of that, for many more reasons. But that one is the most personal, the one that I wear, closest to my heart. So.
And it's the one that I think will resonate with parents out there.
Yeah.
I hope parents watch this, listen to this, and really do some self-reflection and understand it's hard to it's hard to encourage and put your kids in a position to do hard things and potentially face failure. But if you put them into the right situation with the right people and the right organization, it's going to pay off. Yeah. I'm not saying there's not going to be bumps in the road. I'm not saying they're going to want to go every night. You gotta, when they don't want to be in the game, you got to make sure they stay in the game. There's a lot of kids nowadays that they're not even in the game.
Yeah.
They're on the sidelines watching, and we got to get them off the sidelines.
Yep. And Sawyer was one of those kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to do this monthly.
Semi-regularly? Yeah.
Monthly, we'll do this, and we'll share this out with the 906 Adventure Team community. Next month, we'll put Dark Psalm.
Yes. I'm not sure what that means.
That's from Sean. We'll put Mark on the mic, and he can share his 1-year anniversary.
Can't wait.
Experience.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me, you guys.
All right. Over and out.
All right.
Yes.